In a distant part of the galaxy, there was a beautiful planet called Valoria. It had green skies, shining silver rivers, and floating mountains. The people of Valoria, known as Valorians, were tall, graceful, and very proud of their traditions. They believed in beauty, strength, and perfection. Anyone who was different was often treated with silence. One day, a large Earth spaceship arrived on Valoria. It was part of a peace mission. Earth wanted to build strong friendships with other planets. They wanted to share knowledge, trade resources, and avoid war. The Valorians had something Earth wanted: rare crystals that could power space engines. In return, Earth offered new technology and medicine. The leader of the Valorians, Madame Mira, was a smart and respected woman. She invited the Earth team to her shining white palace, built on the edge of a floating cliff. Everyone admired her calm voice and confident eyes. But behind her calm smile, she was hiding a deep pain. Mira had a daughter named Riva. Riva was born with weak legs. She couldn't walk or stand like other Valorians. From childhood, she was treated differently. People whispered behind her back. She was never taken to public events. For Mira, this was a personal shame. But she loved her daughter. More than anything, Mira had tried everything: medicine, healing crystals, even robotic legs, but nothing worked. Riva spent most of her life inside the palace, reading books, painting, and watching the world from her window. As the Earth diplomats met with Mira to discuss agreements, she had a private plan. She called a secret meeting with Earth's leaders. "I want a human to marry my daughter," she said calmly. The room became silent. "A marriage?" one of Earth's officers asked. "Yes," Mira nodded. "It will be a symbol of trust between our worlds, your people and mine, united by a sacred bond." The Earth team looked at each other. They knew this was a strange request, but they also knew how important this alliance was. If Valoria agreed to peace and trade, it would help Earth more than they could imagine. After a long discussion, Earth agreed to the plan, but only if the human chosen also agreed freely. They sent a message to a young engineer named Tom. Tom was working on a research base on Mars when he received the message. He was surprised and confused. Why him? He wasn't a soldier or a leader. He was just good at building things: machines, suits, and small robots. But Earth needed someone kind, smart, and able to handle pressure. Tom fit the role. The message said, "This marriage is symbolic. You will not be forced, but Earth asks for your help." Tom thought about it. He had no family. He had no big dreams waiting for him on Earth. After a few hours of silence, he sent back his answer. "I'll do it." Tom arrived on Valoria 2 days later. He wore a simple suit and brought only one bag. He was taken to Mira's palace in a smooth airship. The Valorian sky was filled with soft green light, and the air smelled like fresh leaves and ocean mist. Mira welcomed him with a gentle bow. "Thank you for your honor, Tom of Earth." Tom bowed slightly. "I hope I can be helpful." Then Mira introduced him to Riva. She was sitting in a soft chair near the window, dressed in a silver robe. Her hair was long and dark blue. Her eyes were quiet but deep, like she had seen too much for her age. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. She just looked at Tom without blinking. Tom gave a small smile. "Hello." Riva nodded once. That was all. The wedding was held quietly the next day. Only a few people were there. Some Earth delegates, some Valorian leaders. No music, no big celebration. Just a short ceremony where hands were joined, and a silver mark was placed on their fingers. The mark glowed gently. It was a symbol of union and peace. After the wedding, Tom was given a small room next to Riva's in the palace. It was clean, full of light, and had everything he needed. But the silence was heavy. He didn't know what to say or do. Was he a husband, a guest, a stranger? Riva stayed in her room most of the time. She didn't eat with him. She didn't speak unless Mira was present. It felt like a wall had been built between them. One evening, Tom knocked on Riva's door. She didn't answer, but he spoke anyway. "I don't know why your mother chose me, but I want you to know I didn't come here to hurt you or take your space. If you want me to leave, I will." There was silence. Then a soft voice replied, "You can stay. I don't mind." Tom smiled a little, even if she couldn't see it. That was the first step. In the days that followed, Tom began exploring the palace. He learned how Valorian tools worked and started fixing small things around the building. He noticed Riva liked to paint, so he brought her new brushes from Earth. He even built a small moving chair with soft wheels so she could go outside if she wanted to. She didn't use it at first. But one morning he saw her in the garden, sitting quietly, watching the sky. He didn't say anything. He just walked past, pretending to be busy. But inside, he felt something warm. He had no idea that this quiet beginning would soon change the future of two worlds. Days turned into weeks. Tom stayed in the large, quiet palace with Riva. The halls were always calm, the air always fresh, and the sky outside forever green. But inside, Tom sometimes felt lonely. He had married someone he didn't know on a planet where he didn't belong. Still, he did not give up. Every morning, Tom walked past Riva's room and said softly, "Good morning." At first, there was no reply. Then one day, she quietly said back, "Morning." That single word gave Tom hope. He didn't try to force friendship. He stayed polite and gentle. He worked with his tools in the garden, fixed broken machines, and studied Valorian systems. Sometimes he left small gifts outside Riva's door, paints, tools, or Earth snacks. He never expected anything back. One afternoon, Riva came to the garden using the chair he built for her. It moved smoothly, with thin wheels and soft blue lights under the seat. She sat under a wide silver leaf tree and started to paint. Tom saw her from across the garden but didn't go near. He just smiled and kept working on a drone. The next day, she was there again, and the day after that. After some time, Riva began talking more. She told Tom about the palace, about the stars above Valoria, and about how she once dreamed of becoming a space pilot, but was never allowed to try. Valorians. "Think only perfect bodies can fly," she said softly. Tom shook his head. "That's foolish. On Earth, we use our minds first. Our machines help the rest." She looked at him, surprised. "Do you mean even people like me could fly?" Tom nodded. "I know engineers on Earth who can't walk. They design space, suits, and ships. They're brilliant. You could do that too." For a long moment, Riva was quiet. Then she asked, "Can you show me something from Earth?" Tom stood, went inside, and returned with a small device. He pressed a button. A 3D image appeared, a spinning Earth, with tiny dots showing where humans had built cities, colonies, and stations. Riva's eyes widened. "It's beautiful," she whispered. In the days that followed, Tom showed her more. He connected a screen to her room so she could explore Earth's art, science, and music. He taught her about different machines, from wheelchairs to flying suits. One evening, he brought out something special, a human-designed walking frame that supported the body using sensors and balance. It was built for people with weak legs. "I think I can improve this," Tom said, "but I need your help." "My help?" Riva asked, surprised. "You're smart. You know Valorian tech. If we combine it with Earth design, we can build something better." Riva looked unsure at first, but then she smiled, a real smile. "All right, let's try." For the next week, they worked together. Riva gave ideas about energy cells and weight control. Tom handled the design and movement parts. They argued, tested, and laughed. For the first time, Riva didn't feel weak or useless. She felt needed. Tom noticed the change. Her voice became stronger, her eyes brighter. She started asking questions. She even teased him when his ideas didn't work. One night, Tom was testing a small motor in the lab. Riva rolled beside him and handed him a new part. "This should make it smoother," she said. He tried it, and it worked. He looked at her, amazed. "You just solved something I've been stuck on for 2 days." She laughed. "I told you I'm not just a painter." A few days later, the first version of the walking device was ready. Tom brought it to the garden. It looked like a silver frame with soft pads and smart wires. It didn't force her legs to move. It helped them balance and supported her slowly, step by step. Riva looked at it, nervous. "What if I fall?" "Then I'll catch you," Tom said simply. She smiled again, took a deep breath, and let Tom strap the frame around her legs. He held her hand as she stood. Her legs shook, her arms were tense. But then, one step, then another, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm standing," she whispered. "I'm walking." Tom didn't say anything. He just smiled and stayed beside her. She walked for a full minute before sitting back in the chair, breathing hard but smiling wide. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You didn't treat me like a broken thing. You treated me like a person." Tom sat beside her. "Because that's what you are, Riva, a brilliant person with a strong heart." Word about Riva's progress spread quietly among the palace staff. Some were surprised. Others whispered in awe. "Is it true? She stood on her own? I heard it was the humans' tech." "No. It was her mind, too. She helped build it." Even Mira, her mother, began to notice the change. Riva now joined. Dinners sometimes. She asked questions during meetings. She didn't hide anymore. One day, Mira called Tom to her private office. "My daughter smiles now," she said. "I haven't seen that in years." Tom nodded. "I chose you for political reasons," she continued. "But now, I think you were the right person after all." Tom didn't know what to say. He just bowed slightly. "I only did what anyone decent would do." Mira shook her head. "No, Tom. Not everyone would do what you've done." That night, Riva and Tom sat together under the silver tree. Stars moved slowly across the sky. "Do you miss Earth?" Riva asked. "Sometimes," Tom said. "But being here, working with you, I feel like I'm part of something special." She looked at him. "You didn't ask for this life, but you still gave it your best." "And so did you," Tom replied. There was a pause. Then Riva whispered, "I'm glad it was you." Tom smiled. So was he. The garden was full of soft light as Riva stood up again, her legs supported by the device she had helped Tom build. She took 3 careful steps, then 4. Her balance was better now. Each time she stood, she felt stronger. She no longer feared falling. Tom always stayed close, ready to help. But more often now, she didn't need his hands at all. Valorian doctors had once said Riva would never walk. They were wrong. She walked and she smiled. Tom started working on a stronger version of the walking frame. Riva gave him ideas: better weight balance, faster sensors, lighter power cells. He called the new version the Skywalker unit. It was sleek, silver blue, and could adjust automatically to her steps. One morning, Riva tried it on and walked the full length of the palace hallway. The guards and helpers stood still, shocked. One of them dropped a glass of water. Another whispered, "Is that Lady Riva?" When she reached the garden, a group of Valorian children saw her. They had always been told Riva was sick, that she couldn't move. Now they saw her standing tall. A small girl walked forward and said, "You look strong." Riva bent down and smiled. "Thank you." Tom stood nearby, proud. But he knew Riva had done most of this herself. She was the one who believed, learned, and worked hard. He had only opened the door. After that day, something began to change on Valoria. A few palace workers came to Tom, asking about the Skywalker unit. "My brother cannot use one arm," one said. "Can this help him?" "My daughter has weak legs like Lady Riva," another whispered. "Can she stand too?" Tom started meeting with Valorian scientists. At first, they were cold. They didn't like mixing Earth technology with their own. They believed their science was pure and perfect. But Tom didn't argue. He showed them. He explained how Earth didn't leave anyone behind, how machines were built to help, not replace, how strength could come in many forms. Slowly, the scientists began to listen. Riva joined the meetings too. She explained the parts of the Skywalker unit in Valorian terms. She made the others see that this wasn't just human help, it was shared progress, and it was working. One day, Riva received a message from the Valorian Medical Council. They wanted her and Tom to present their design at the upcoming Science Summit, a yearly gathering of all the top minds on the planet. Riva was nervous. "They never even allowed me to attend before," she said. Tom smiled. "Now they're inviting you to speak." They spent days preparing. Tom practiced his words. Riva made diagrams. Together they planned how to show the world that being different didn't mean being weak. The summit took place in a tall glass tower in Valoria's capital. Hundreds of people were present. Scientists, leaders, even children. Tom stood in his formal suit. Riva wore a clean silver dress and the Skywalker unit, which now moved quietly like it was part of her body. When they stepped on stage, the crowd went silent. Riva spoke first. "My name is Riva. For most of my life, I was told what I couldn't do. I was told to stay hidden. But now I'm here, not to ask for pity, but to share knowledge." She explained how the Skywalker unit worked. She showed images of how it was built. She didn't talk about weakness. She talked about possibility. Then, Tom spoke. "Earth learned long ago that technology should help people, not judge them. Strength isn't just muscles. It's mind, heart, and will." Riva proved that. At the end of the presentation, Riva walked across the stage alone. She stopped. In the center, looked out at the silent crowd and said, "I stand here not because I was fixed, but because I was included." The hall was quiet. Then someone clapped, then another, and then the whole room stood up. After the summit, messages poured in. Scientists wanted to study the design, leaders wanted to talk, even schools wanted Riva to visit and speak to children with disabilities. Riva was no longer hidden in a palace room. She had become a symbol of hope. That night, back at the palace, Mira sat with Riva and Tom in the garden. "I saw the summit," Mira said. "You made our world look at itself in a new way." Riva looked down. "I only told the truth." Mira nodded. "I once believed you could not live a full life. I thought hiding you was kindness. I was wrong." She turned to Tom. "And you? I brought you here for a deal. But now, you are more than that." Tom stayed silent for a moment, then said, "This isn't about me. Riva did this. She led the way. I only followed." Mira smiled for the first time in a long while. "Perhaps Earth and Valoria have more to learn from each other than I thought." Later, as the stars lit up the sky, Riva and Tom sat alone. "You've changed things here," Tom said. "So have you," Riva replied. He looked at her. "Do you think they'll accept the Skywalker unit for everyone?" "Maybe not all at once," she said. "But the first door has opened. Others will walk through it." Tom nodded. "You'll lead them." She smiled. "Only if you walk beside me." And in that moment, under the silver tree, with the stars above and peace in their hearts, it was clear. They were no longer strangers from different worlds. They were partners in science, in hope, in something that had only just begun. The sky above Valoria was calm, painted in shades of green and silver. The palace garden smelled of fresh breeze and flowers. Riva walked through it each morning with her Skywalker unit, now part of her daily routine. Tom often walked beside her, carrying a small toolkit just in case. They were more than husband and wife now. They were a team, partners in science, learning, and quiet trust. Across Valoria, people had begun to talk. Some praised the change. Others stayed silent, still unsure about a human helping a Valorian noble walk again. But deep inside, many had started to see the truth. Earth's ideas were not just helpful, they were powerful, and that power made some people nervous. Far from the palace, in a tall tower in the capital, a group of Valorian leaders met in secret. One of them, Rohal, was from an old noble house. He had never liked Earth's arrival. He believed in Valorian purity. Strong minds, strong bodies, no outsiders. First, the human marries into our line, Rohal said, his voice cold. Now his machines are spreading. What will happen next? Half-human children in our government? They say the girl can walk now, another whispered. With his help, Rohal snapped. That's the problem. He slammed a crystal on the table. We need to stop this before our world becomes theirs. Back at the palace, Tom was in the lab. He was building a smaller version of the Skywalker unit for children. Riva was helping, drawing soft patterns on the design that would make it more comfortable and beautiful. Suddenly, the lights flickered. Tom stood. That's strange. Power systems here are always stable. Riva looked up. I'll check the hallway. Maybe Mira's team is testing something. She stepped out, walking with confidence. But halfway down the corridor, she heard a loud sound, click, like a switch being flipped. Then came the explosion. Flames burst from the lab. The blast threw Tom backward. Glass and wires flew everywhere. The floor shook. Smoke filled the air. Riva turned back and screamed, Tom! Without thinking, she ran forward. The fire was hot. The room was shaking. Part of the ceiling had fallen. Sparks flew from the walls. Tom lay under a beam, trying to move. His arm was bleeding and one leg was trapped. Stay back, he shouted. It's not safe. But Riva did not stop. Step by step, she walked into the smoke. Her Skywalker unit adjusted quickly, balancing her even as the floor cracked beneath her feet. She reached Tom, pushed the beam aside with all her strength, and helped him sit up. You shouldn't be here, he said weakly. You're my husband, she said. I'm not leaving you. She pulled his arm over her shoulder. With the unit's support, she took him out of the broken lab. Every step was heavy, but she didn't fall. When they reached the hallway, guards came running. She carried him, one guard said in shock. She walked through fire. Mira came moments later. Her eyes widened when she saw her daughter holding Tom up. Get the doctor, Riva said. Now. Then she collapsed. Tom woke up hours later in the palace medical room. His arm was bandaged, and his leg had a cast. Riva sat beside him, her hair slightly burned, her hands scraped, but her eyes calm. You saved me, he said softly. She nodded. You'd do the same. Mira entered the room, her face pale. This was not an accident, she said. Someone planted a device in your lab. Someone wants to stop what you two have started. Tom tried to sit up. Then we need to find out who. But Mira shook her head. No. First, you need to rest. Riva, too. You've both done enough today. Tom looked at Riva and took her hand. You walked into fire. She squeezed his hand gently. And I walked out with you. News of the explosion spread fast. At first, many thought it was an accident. But when people heard that Riva had walked through fire to save her husband, something changed across Valoria. She walked without fear. She saved a human. She saved her own future. For the first time, she was no longer just the disabled daughter of Mira. She was Lady Riva, the brave one. Meanwhile, Mira began an investigation. She used her private guards, avoiding public eyes. Within 2 days, she found proof. The blast was caused by a small device placed inside the lab's power box. It had a timer and remote trigger, and the materials used came from House Rohal. Mira confronted Rohal in the royal court. "You tried to kill my daughter and her husband," she said coldly. Rohal did not deny it. "You are changing our people with outsider tricks. I only wanted to protect Valoria." Mira's voice was sharp as steel. "Valoria does not need protection from hope. We need protection from fear, and from people like you." Rohal was removed from the council that same day. His name lost its power. And for the first time in years, Mira stood tall, not just as a leader, but as a mother who had found her courage. That evening, Riva and Tom sat by the garden again. He was still healing. She now wore a lighter version of the Skywalker unit, repaired after the blast. "Do you think they'll try again?" Tom asked. "Maybe," Riva said, "but this time we're not alone." She was right. People across Valoria began sending messages of support. Some wanted to learn about Earth tech. Others asked for help with their children or parents who couldn't walk. A few even sent drawings of Riva standing strong in front of fire. Riva looked at one picture. A child had drawn her like a star, shining in silver and blue. She smiled. "I never thought I would become someone others looked up to." Tom smiled too. "You didn't just stand up, Riva. You showed everyone how to rise." The palace was calm again, but things had changed. The fire, the rescue, the truth about the attack. Everything had shaken Valoria. People no longer whispered about Riva in pity. Now they spoke her name with respect. Lady Riva stood through fire. She saved the human with her own hands. She is not weak. She is brave. Riva, who once stayed in her room for days, now moved through the palace with her head high. She spoke to workers, taught children, and answered messages. From across the planet, people wanted to learn from her. They wanted to know how they could stand too. One morning, Tom sat in the garden with a data pad in his lap. His arm was still healing, but he had started working again. He looked up as Riva walked toward him, wearing her Skywalker unit and holding a small bag. "You're going somewhere?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, the university invited me to speak." Tom raised an eyebrow. "The main Valorian university?" "Yes," she said. "They want me to give a lecture about Earth's tech and how it changed my life." Tom smiled. "That's a big step," Riva smiled back. "I'm ready." Later that day, Riva stood in a grand hall with shining walls and floating lights. Hundreds of students and teachers filled the space. Many of them had only read about her in news reports. Now they were seeing her in person. She stood at the front of the stage, the Skywalker unit gently humming as it supported her legs. She looked at the crowd, calm and steady. "My name is Riva," she began. "For most of my life I was told I could not walk. I was told to stay quiet, to stay inside. I believed it." She paused, letting the silence speak. But then, someone came who didn't believe that. He saw my mind, not my legs. He showed me a new way to stand, not just with machines, but with belief. Tom watched from the back of the room, his heart full of quiet pride. "I did not become strong because of Earth's tools," Riva continued. "I became strong because someone treated me like I already was." The room stayed silent for a few moments, and then the applause came, soft at first, then louder and louder. Some students stood up. Others wiped away quiet tears. For many in the room, it was the first time they had heard someone speak, not just with science, but with heart. After the speech, people crowded around Riva. They asked questions about the Skywalker unit. Some told her stories about family members who could not walk. A few showed her drawings and poems they had made after hearing about her rescue during the explosion. One young boy, about 8 years old, rolled forward in a simple chair. He looked up at Riva and asked, "Will I be able to stand too?" Riva knelt beside him. "Yes," she said. "Maybe not today, maybe not next week. But if we work together, we'll build something for you." The boy smiled brightly. "Promise?" "Promise." That evening, Riva returned to the palace. Tom was waiting for her in the lab. He had made something new, a smaller, simpler Skywalker. "Unit designed for children. I started working on this after the summit," he said, "but now I want you to finish it." Riva looked at the parts, touched by his trust. "You're not just giving me the tools. You're giving me the lead." Tom nodded. "You're not just a voice now, Riva. You're a guide." Together, they spent the next few weeks building the Hope Walker, a lighter suit that could be adjusted for young bodies. Riva tested every part, making sure it was not only strong but easy to use. One day, Mira entered the lab with a message in her hand. "There's a request," she said, "from the Valorian Health Council. They want to open special clinics, places where people with body challenges can get help, training, and tech." Tom looked up. "You mean like Earth's rehab centers?" Mira nodded. "Yes, and they want you and Riva to lead the first one." Riva blinked. "Me?" "They don't just want machines," Mira said. "They want heart. They want someone who understands." Riva looked at Tom and he smiled. "What do you think?" She took a deep breath. "I think it's time." A few weeks later, the first Unity Clinic opened in Valoria's main city. It was built from both Valorian and Earth designs. Inside were rooms for healing, training, and learning. Outside, a garden full of silver trees welcomed visitors. People came from every corner of the planet. Some walked, some rolled, some were carried by family, and Riva was there to greet them all. "This place is not about fixing," she told the crowd. "It's about growing, together." As days passed, more Unity clinics opened. Tom trained engineers. Riva taught new staff. Slowly, change moved across Valoria like morning light. One night, Riva and Tom sat together in the garden again. "You've become more than you ever imagined," Tom said. "So have you," Riva replied. Tom laughed softly. "I was just a builder from Mars. Now I'm married to the strongest woman on Valoria." Riva smiled. "And I'm married to the kindest human in the galaxy." They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars above. Then Riva whispered, "There's something I need to tell you." Tom turned to her. "What is it?" She looked into his eyes. "I think I might be pregnant." End of part 5. The next morning, the palace felt quiet, as if even the wind was waiting. Riva stood near the window, looking out over the silver trees. Her hand rested gently on her stomach. Her heart beat faster than usual, but her face stayed calm. Tom entered the room, holding 2 cups of warm fruit tea. He handed one to her. "You didn't sleep much," he said. She nodded. "Too many thoughts." Tom sat beside her. "Are you sure?" Riva looked into his eyes. "I took the test twice. Both said yes." Tom didn't speak for a moment. Then he smiled, slow and wide. "You're going to be a mother." Riva took a deep breath. "I don't know how Valoria will react. A half-human child. We've never had that before." Tom reached out and held her hand. "Then this child will be the first." Later that day, Riva met with Mira in her private chamber. The room was quiet, filled with soft lights and long shadows. Mira looked up as Riva entered. "You look nervous." Riva nodded. "I have something to tell you." Mira listened carefully as Riva explained everything about the test, the results, the child growing inside her. For a long moment, Mira said nothing. Her face showed no anger, no fear, only deep thought. Then, finally, she spoke. I never imagined this, Mira said. But I am not afraid. Riva was surprised. You're not? Mira looked out the window. I once tried to protect you by keeping you hidden. I thought I was doing the right thing. But I was wrong. You showed me strength comes in many forms. And now, maybe this child will show Valoria something even greater. Word of the pregnancy didn't stay secret for long. Within days, it spread. Across the city, and then across the planet. People talked in markets, in schools, in the streets. Lady Riva is expecting a child. It's part human. What will it look like? Is this even allowed? Some were curious. Some were afraid. A few were angry. It's unnatural, one council member said. It's the future, another replied. Mira held an emergency. Meeting at the palace. Leaders from every corner of Valoria arrived. Earth's ambassador joined through a screen from orbit. This child is not a danger, Mira said clearly. This child is a symbol of our two worlds, of peace, of hope, of change. A few council members stood in protest. One said, We do not mix species. It is against Valorian law. Riva stood up, her voice calm. Then maybe the law needs to grow. There was silence in the room. Tom looked around and said, Earth has already learned this. Many of our best minds come from mixed backgrounds, different planets, different people. Why fear what can bring new strength? Outside, the council room, people gathered. Some carried signs of support. Others carried questions and doubts. But among the noise, something unexpected happened. A group of parents came forward, families with children who had been helped by the Unity clinics. They stood outside the palace and spoke to the crowd. Son couldn't walk until Lady Riva built him a suit, one father said. She gave my daughter hope, another mother added. She gave my family a future. Slowly, the voices of support grew louder than the voices of fear. At home, Riva and Tom prepared for the baby. They redesigned a room with soft lights, smooth walls, and gentle sounds. Tom built a crib using wood and crystal. Riva painted stars on the ceiling. We don't know how the child will look, Riva said one day. Will they have your eyes or mine? Will they have human skin or Valorian? Skin, Tom smiled. It doesn't matter. We'll love them either way. As the days passed, Riva's health stayed strong. Valorian doctors worked with Earth doctors to study her condition. No one had ever seen a human and Valorian child before. But the signs were clear. The baby was growing well. One doctor said, This child may be different, but it is healthy. Strong heartbeat, active movement. Tom joked. Sounds like they'll be a runner. Riva laughed. Then we better build another suit. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the floating mountains, Mira joined Riva and Tom in the garden. I've been thinking about names, Mira said. Tom raised an eyebrow. Already? Mira smiled. It's never too early. Riva looked thoughtful. If it's a girl, I want a name that means light. Tom nodded. And if it's a boy, maybe something that means bridge, because that's what this child will be. A bridge between two worlds. Mira looked up at the stars. Then let this child be born not with fear, but with celebration. A week later, the Valorian High Council voted again. This time, something new happened. One by one, they spoke in favor of Riva and Tom's child. It is time we stop fearing change, said one. This child is not a weakness. It is a sign of growth, said another. At the end of the vote, the law was changed. Mixed-species children were no longer forbidden. The news spread like fire. But this time, it was a warm fire, not a burning. 1. That night, Tom stood on the palace balcony with Riva, holding her gently. Do you think they'll accept our child fully? He asked. Riva leaned against him. Not all at once, but we've already opened the door. Others will walk through it. Tom smiled. Just like you did? Riva smiled, too. Just like we did. And above them, the stars kept glowing, silent. Witnesses to a new beginning, one that started with courage, grew through trust, and would soon bring a new life into the universe. The next morning, the palace felt quiet, as if even the wind was waiting. Riva stood near the window, looking out over the silver trees. Her hand rested gently on her stomach. Her heart beat faster than usual, but her face stayed calm. Tom entered the room, holding 2 cups of warm fruit tea. He handed one to her. "You didn't sleep much," he said. She nodded. "Too many thoughts." Tom sat beside her. "Are you sure?" Riva looked into his eyes. "I took the test twice. Both said yes." Tom didn't speak for a moment. Then, he smiled slow and wide. "You're going to be a mother." Riva took a deep breath. "I don't know how Valoria will react. A half-human child. We've never had that before." Tom reached out and held her hand. "Then this child will be the first." Later that day, Riva met with Mira in her private chamber. The room was quiet, filled with soft lights and long shadows. Mira looked up as Riva entered. "You look nervous," Riva nodded. "I have something to tell you." Mira listened carefully as Riva explained everything about the test, the results, the child growing inside her. For a long moment, Mira said nothing. Her face showed no anger, no fear, only deep thought. Then finally, she spoke. "I never imagined this," Mira said. "But I am not afraid." Riva was surprised. "You're not?" Mira looked out the window. "I once tried to protect you by keeping you hidden. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was wrong. You showed me strength comes in many forms. And now, maybe this child will show Valoria something even greater." Word of the pregnancy didn't stay secret for long. Within days, it spread. Across the city, and then across the planet. People talked in markets, in schools, in the streets. "Lady Riva is expecting a child. It's part human." What will it look like? Is this even allowed? Some were curious. Some were afraid. A few were angry. "It's unnatural," one council member said. "It's the future," another replied. Mira held an emergency meeting at the palace. Leaders from every corner of Valoria arrived. Earth's ambassador joined through a screen from orbit. "This child is not a danger," Mira said clearly. "This child is a symbol of our 2 worlds, of peace, of hope, of change." A few council members stood in protest. One said, "We do not mix species. It is against Valorian law." Riva stood up, her voice calm. "Then maybe the law needs to grow." There was silence in the room. Tom looked around and said, "Earth has already learned this. Many of our best minds come from mixed backgrounds, different planets, different people. Why fear what can bring new strength?" Outside, the council room, people gathered. Some carried signs of support. Others carried questions and doubts. But among the noise, something unexpected happened. A group of parents came forward, families with children who had been helped by the Unity clinics. They stood outside the palace and spoke to the crowd. "My son couldn't walk until Lady Riva built him a suit," one father said. "She gave my daughter hope," another mother added. "She gave my family a future." Slowly, the voices of support grew louder than the voices of fear. At home, Riva and Tom prepared for the baby. They redesigned a room with soft lights, smooth walls, and gentle sounds. Tom built a crib using wood and crystal. Riva painted stars on the ceiling. "We don't know how the child will look," Riva said one day. "Will they have your eyes or mine? Will they have human skin or Valorian?" "Skin?" Tom smiled. "It doesn't matter. We'll love them either way." As the days passed, Riva's health stayed strong. Valorian doctors worked with Earth doctors to study her condition. No one had ever seen a human and Valorian child before. But the signs were clear. The baby was growing well. One doctor said, "This child may be different, but it is healthy. Strong heartbeat, active movement." Tom joked, "Sounds like there'll be a runner." Riva laughed. "Then we better build." Another suit. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the floating mountains, Mira joined Riva and Tom in the garden. "I've been thinking about names," Mira said. Tom raised an eyebrow. "Already?" Mira smiled. "It's never too early." Riva looked thoughtful. "If it's a girl, I want a name that means light." Tom nodded. "And if it's a boy, maybe something that means bridge, because that's what this child will be. A bridge between two worlds." Mira looked up at the stars. "Then let this child be born not with fear, but with celebration." A week later, the Valorian High Council voted again. This time, something new happened. One by one, they spoke in favor of Rava and Tom's child. "It is time we stop fearing change," said one. "This child is not a weakness. It is a sign of growth," said another. At the end of the vote, the law was changed. Mixed-species children were no longer forbidden. The news spread like fire, but this time it was a warm fire, not a burning. 1. That night, Tom stood on the palace balcony with Riva, holding her gently. "Do you think they'll accept our child fully?" he asked. Riva leaned against him. "Not all at once, but we've already opened the door. Others will walk through it." Tom smiled. "Just like you did." Riva smiled too. "Just like we did." And above them the stars kept glowing, silent. Witnesses to a new beginning, one that started with courage, grew through trust, and would soon bring a new life into the universe.